Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a great day. We're taking another look here at Gala. This is a request from one of my community members, KCroll51. If I'm correctly pronouncing that, let's just double check. I think this is, yep, that is correct. We're good to go there. Also, quick congrats to our community members here for some wonderful profits there. Solana, we just took 93%, Injective 74%, and ZRX good 64% in 2 days there. That's a nice little short trade. The rest are longs. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about Gala and what it can do next. There looks to be like a lower liquidity sweep that we saw, some sell-side liquidity, and there's a chance we could see the price come back up here. We want to double check and make sure we're not getting in too early. But the bottom line here is that we are at the lowest point, or we wicked down to the lowest point in which this coin has ever seen, at least regarding this exchange here on Binance. Now, I haven't looked thoroughly at other exchanges, but this is essentially the lowest point which we see. The most recent low, which was basically December of last year, is about 1.4, and we're at like 1.2 right now. So just to give you perspective, this is kind of the price discovery to the downside right now. Okay, and a lot of times when price discovery occurs, strange things can happen. So just know it is anyone's game here. So we're going to update our fibs here, talk a little bit about liquidity levels, and see if there's any chart patterns to pay attention to. Mainly, what we want to look at here would be just how much lower could it go if it were to, right? So now that we've lost that support level, or tentatively lost it, we can see here that 1.265 is essentially, or sorry, yeah, am I saying that right? Yeah, 1.265 cents is effectively the current low here that we need to close above in order to have any luck today. What I mean by that is that's the most recent low here, basically previous week low. And if we close below that, that'd be a bad thing, but most of the time, previous week lows or highs will work as support level. Okay, so just know that that should hold, but if it doesn't, we just got to be prepared and ready for that. So what is next here? Let's talk about somewhat of the big picture here. Let's go ahead and look at some key levels here. That's likely going to be below most, but let's double check, which we are. We're below the 20, 50, and the 200-day SMA. No surprise there. Once we lost the 20, it's been pretty much working as a resistance level here. Okay, so just note we are against the grain, if you will, and the price action is definitely continuing lower. We want to recognize too that in its history, when it gets closer to 30 on RSI, it can go much lower. Okay, so just because we're getting close to 30 doesn't mean that we're just going to get that natural bounce. There's not a lot of volume coming in this coin right now. Speaking of volume, let's take a quick look and just kind of double check here. Where are we at with volume? Let's turn this off so we can see a little better. We have the most amount of volume right at about 1.33 repeating. So right at 1.33, we can approximate that we're going to have a decent amount of resistance if the price comes back up. If you're considering a long position, consider taking your profits just below this 0.618 Fibonacci retracement level, which coincidentally is exactly right there at that volume profile. We have the second most, or I guess you could say the most amount of volume at about 1.46. That's that previous low that we saw back in December. Okay, that's the new resistance. So we can approximate that this area here is going to be a difficult place to cross, and that this might be the initial starting point. Okay, so the price does pull back, recover, which is common in situations like these. We would see maybe about a 3 or 4% increase, followed by another lower low and lower high. Again, there's potential there. Is that going to happen? Not exactly, but that it would be best to expect the worst and hope for the best, right? So looking at the RSI once again, we're getting closer to 30, but not totally overextended. We can also see that we just started to diverge on the MACD as well. Nothing super strong there. So we're pretty much bearish rather on all three, not all three time frames, but primarily on the larger time frame. Okay. Well, let's take a look at the 4 hours, see if there's any transition or potential support that we're seeing here. Actually, let's look at volume 2. So we know volume is still remaining low. So until volume picks back up, we can't expect the price to continue to recover. We want to expect the price to bounce back soon, but I don't think it's likely to happen. So what I'm getting at here is if we take a look at some of these key levels here, the moving averages, for example, daily and the 4 hour, we're below all three on both time frames. That's not a good sign. Okay, we want to at least have broken above one or the other, at least in order to have that support. Now, we do have a consolation here, so to speak, whereas the price action is just below 30 on the RSI. Okay, and anytime you go below that level, there's typically somewhat of a relief rally that occurs. Okay, so we saw that happen there. Let's go back a little bit further and see. We saw a just below 30 here as well. Wouldn't say that's much of a relief rally, but it did inevitably increase and didn't go any lower. Furthermore, we look at one more time frame. Price came below 70 here. Sorry, I keep saying 70. 30 came below 30 and effectively went range bound and eventually down. Okay, so again, while there is consistency, 3 out of 4 times we're going to see a bounce when the price comes down below that level. It doesn't happen all the time. So please recognize that the position we're in right now, there's no foolproof instant recovery from Gala. Okay. So what I want to see in order to see the shift in momentum, for example, is to have the price average itself out here for a little bit longer, or potentially come up and break this 1.33 cent range and consolidate and just build a volume profile there a little bit higher, and the likelihood of leg up from there is greater. But the key takeaway here is that we're establishing lower highs and lower lows until we break that initial pattern and we become range bound. We have no leg to stand on for potential increase in the near future. Last thing I want to look at is on the hourly here, of course. Take a look at Ichimoku cloud. We can kind of see, of course, we are still below the cloud, working below that resistance range. Lagging span's coming close to price action here, so in the next 6 to 12 hours, the price remains the same. There's a decent chance we could see the price leg up from there. And then, of course, conversion lines below the baseline, no momentum here. So to me, I wouldn't touch this coin just yet until we have some kind of confirmation above this descending trend, and furthermore, preferably above the cloud. But the only consolation we have here is that we are overextended to the downside here, but without volume, we're not going to see that swift recovery. Okay, so I would expect the price of Gala to continue to go down until it stops. The last thing we'd want to look at too, of course, is liquidity. And this is something that kind of is another slight consolation. Okay, so the fair value gap from before was previously filled as the price coming down. This previous liquidity level here, right at about, once again, 1.265 has effectively been filled. So we could disseminate from this here that there's much more liquidity at higher price points, and that could be the next target for the market movers. Whereas, there's not much meat left on the bone here, so why do people continue to sell? Why would they sell and push the price action any lower? Well, a lot of them, fortunately, the market movers, they do that until everyone is so sick and tired of the price action. They buy at the lowest possible price and get everyone else to rally in later and then just sell off it. It's unfortunate. It happens a lot more with this coin than you might think. But again, just some big picture stuff you want to be mindful of. So I hope this helped clarify some things here. I personally am going to wait a little bit longer. While it seems juicy to jump into a long position here because we're riding that previous support level, it's not a very strong sign here. And just because we swept that lower liquidity does not imply that upper liquidity level is going to have to be retested. But in truth, a lot of times when there are liquidity levels like this, for example, it is swept and comes back down. So hypothetically, we could see the price come up and continue back down as well. Okay. So if you do take a long position, I'm just suggesting and recommending you keep it tight and ensure that you take profit well below this 0.618 Fibonacci level at about 1.3. Okay. That's a strong volume resistance. Same thing here as well at about that 14 or 1.45 mark. That's going to be a secondary resistance level for us. So just some stuff to think about there. I hope this was beneficial. Thanks again so much for watching. Again, you want to become a better trader, part of our trading community where I provide trade signals in my community, as well as, of course, my trading academy where you can learn how to become a better trader. All this stuff is included. Crypto Cash Premium, link down below. I look forward to working with you. Hope you have a good rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one.